I think we're on. Okay, today is the 6th of July. Oh, we're moving right along into being into a good summer. Really hot. We have a drought over here, no rain. Lechia magaju waniche. There's no rain over here. Leampetuki wanchala magaju. Today it rained only once, but that's only once in the whole month. We le wiki ata magaju. This whole uh, month there was no rain. Oganania hecha magaju na checha eashna. Maybe over there, every now and then you have rain. Today, I'm going to get back to the first page of tribal trade relationship app with early white traders. Hole Lawaki, 1860s company standard chart of Pierre Radisson. We're gonna Pierre, South Dakota. Maybe that's where the name for Pierre, South Dakota, has come from. Okay, so we're going to start with the uh, trade of the uh, items that the traders brought. Like the first one is a gun. Uh, Itchokiopcheya. Itchokiopcheya. That's trading. Itchokiopcheya. And the long version of that word is itchokecha iopcheya. Something different I paid for with what I have. Not the same thing, but something of hopefully equal value. So here it says 10 skins of winter beaver. Okay. Wania to chapaki. Wikchemana. Mazawakan wajila ikipi. Ikipi, it's worth one gun. Maybe if you're a good dealer, you're a good Lakota dealer, you could say, nah, give you 5. Zapta lachichu. I'll give you only 5 for one gun. The trader, nah, give me 8. Lakota, nah, we're gonna shakoin. Maybe I'll give you 7. Beaver hide, winter. One near to chapa. Shakoin chichuk. Nish mazawa kamwashid. Na akab nakon mazda suet. The metal seats or the shells, uh, the little round balls that goes in the barrel of the rifle. And those you have to have also the gunpowder. So you have to be able to get all of that. Otherwise, why are you going to have a gun and no bullet and no gunpowder? You know, you have to have those. Uh, so hey, Mazawakhan, the Inam Khobie blue, the powder, the explosive powder. You have to uh, try to get those too. And the little steel ball, the shot or shell, I guess, steel ball. You have to have all of those three things for that gun. So you have to do more trading. So one beaver skin was worth 1/2 pound of gunpowder. Tkeiut chapi okise, 1/2 pound. Tkeiut chapi topa, 4 pounds of shot for one beaver skin. Chapaha mojila, AKP, it's worth that. Uh, Probably a agreed upon trade agreement would be 1/2 pound of gunpowder for one beaver skin. One beaver skin for 4 pounds of shot. Now that's quite a bit. 4 pounds of shot. It's probably about maybe uh, maybe about maybe about 40 or 50 of those little shells, by pounds. If 1 pound is 20, those little steel balls, then you might have 80 shots for one beaver skin. That's quite a bit. That's a good trade right there. Good trade, because you need a lot of shells to um, go hunt, uh, because you might miss. You have to pound it in again, and then so you have to have practice. So you need some of the shells or the little brown balls for practice. So that's why I think 4 pounds is a reasonably good trade. Here's a good trade. One beaver skin, chapaha wajila, one large hatchet, and one small hatchet. I had a little small hatchet about like in the big hatchets. They're like maybe half of an axe, the size. They're pretty good size ones. I used to have an antique one here. And, I have grandsons, and each time they move me, they help themselves to something I have. So, Grandpa, could we have this? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Well, at least I know where it is if they didn't sell it. But I always fill in what I lost. So I buy a brand new hatchet, big one. Go to Cabela's, get a great big hatchet. So I got bought a little hatchet and matching hunting knife, with the little hatchet, matching hunting knife. So I have those. I carry them with me in my car in case I need to chop some limbs or something for a campfire. Sometimes have a campfire to come over and say, Grandpa, do you have an axe or a hatchet? Yeah, you could use mine. A lot of people don't carry their supplies. I carry everything. I'm going out west. I'm going out there, going to Slim Buttes on the 13th. And so I'm thinking about taking wase, because I make my own with bear grease and with pipestone powder, and then bear grease. And then I boil down some mint. I boil it forever and ever until it gets to be way to the bottom. It's got that strong mint flavor or smell. And then I take that, the juice of that, and mix it into the bear grease and the pipestone powder. I mixed it. Smells good. And that's what we use for ceremonial paint. I might take some of that with me. Somebody might say, Grandpa, you got some wase? Every place you have to be prepared for whatever location you're going to. Some people forget their wase, or maybe they didn't have any. So I always carry something extra. So I'm gonna make some probably tonight or maybe tomorrow. And I got some right here. Yeah, I got some powder right here. Got some powder in here. Powder in there. And I got some bear grease right here. Bear grease. In here I got some bear grease. Bear grease. Yeah, so I'm gonna make my wase and take it with me. And then I'm gonna teach them how to make it. Teach them how to make traditional wase. We have also the red clay over here. That's what we call it, vermilion. Vermillon, French word for red. Clay County, that's Vermilion, South Dakota. Red clay, uh, that's the location to find red clay. Go look for it, you'll never find it. The river moved, so the clay mine where they used to get it is gone. It's no longer at that location. And the early people who settled in Vermilion used it up to make bricks. So there's only one home uh, that I know of in Vermilion that still has that same red clay with bricks. It's a Austin historic building over there across from the courthouse. There's a building over there with that red clay bricks. So they used it up with that various red brick buildings. That's the one I know that's standing yet to this day. Is that building? And so the sometimes I use the root of the cedar tree. If there's an old cedar tree way up in the mountains and it's dead, if you dig into the ground where that cedar tree is, the roots, they're red, a beautiful scarlet red that the the roots they turn into powder. It's a beautiful color. I used to have some of that and uh, that powder, but over the years I used it up. I got to go to the mountains again and find a cedar tree that's dead. Dig and find the roots. And the red, the scarlet, beautiful red. Just to let the ancient people, they find colors like that. But I use pipestone because I make pipes, chanupa, when the filet and then all the powder falls, I save them. I just have a cardboard sitting right there, and I work right there, and then the powder falls into the uh, the little tray. I make a tray, and then I save it because I'm going to use it later on. Everything is useful. Everything is useful. People have little pieces of pipestone. It's usable yet, because that little piece of pipestone, I can take it and take a file and keep rubbing it, and make my own, uh, probably a box like this, a plastic box full of the red pipestone powder. So everything is useful, on this earth. I'm a recycler or repurposer. I reuse things that ordinary some people would throw away. I don't throw nothing away. I always find a use for something because later on it's good for a trade item. Le, hey, I want to give you this in place of that, whatever the trade item that you want. Maybe a drumstick or maybe a eagle bone whistle, something you could trade. You know, in the eagle bone whistle, you make a whistle. The eagle bone, the wing, the bone of the wing, the bigger wing bone, you make it into a whistle. Shiotchanka, we say. Shiotchanka. A shio is any bird that has a whistle sound is a shio. And so that's how we say the eagle bone whistle because it whistles. Shio hecha. Chanka, it's a bigger bone than ordinary wing bones. That's why I said chanka. Shio chanka. And, so I hope you're listening well because you'll find out a lot of the traditional, things that we use at sun dances or naming ceremonies. And I never in my life blow a whistle. I have no right to blow a whistle, but I make them. And then the only time I blow is just test it. When I test a whistle, that's the only time I blow a whistle is because I'm testing it. See if it has a good strong sound. And then the sun dancers, they use them. They have a right to. Some traditional dancers, they give them the right to be a whistle carrier in the communities. Some people blow whistles that they made on their own. They weren't designated as whistle carriers, but you see them blowing it all the time. Every little chance they got to blow, and then, oh, that hurt my feelings. You know, it hurt my feelings when they do that. Because the whistle carriers are special. We have to have a ceremony for them and offer them the eagle bone whistle. And through the Sundance, you could get a eagle bone whistle, but that's meant for sacred times. The Wachiwi Chacha, the people who dance at powwows, there's only some designated whistle carriers. And so one year, they picked 4 whistleblowers for the Rosebud powwow at Founders Day. But a man came and brought some wood whistles and they offered them to 4 traditional dancers. I forget who they were. But they said, just for this powwow, you 4 are the only ones could blow a whistle at this powwow. And it wasn't eagle bone, it was wood. That's how much respect they had for eagle bone whistles. They made wood ones for the powwow. Now that is respect. Rosebud powwow. That is respect for the eagle bone whistles. I was really pleased to see that. To see that something like that we use in place of the eagle bone whistles that we hold so dear. And, because a lot of them we use in prayer and for sicknesses at sun dances. We dance for somebody's life that maybe it's his last days, and we dance for them to make them know that we love them. I want to dance for you, so you could see how much sacrifice I could make for you. And so it's the feelings, the hurt, the pain. It's not penance. No, it's a commitment, an offering of the pain for a loved one. It's not for any wrong done. It's not what we call wachtani. Wachtani means you do something in place of a wrong. Wachtani. In Dakota, it means work. Wachtani means work in Dakota. Ours, Lakota would say, Wowashi. Wowashi. He does a favor because he's not going to get paid. If Grandpa said, Kakoja, Chamichi Jacksina, Hel, Pahaya, Eganakayo, make a rig or a pile, Pahaya, a pile of wood for me for the winter. And so that Kakoja, he probably won't do it right away because it said for the winter. He didn't say do it right away. He said, get it ready for the winter. So when it was getting towards fall, all of a sudden the Tracoja was working hard to fill up that little shed full of wood close to the home or alongside the home. You always have an extra shed alongside the home where the wood goes, the firewood. We did in Porcupine. We had an extra room by the kitchen. Right outside the kitchen door was an extra room to fill it up with wood and different things that we need, fire starters, chips, twigs. Everything was ready there for the winter. I was the one that helped fill that up. We had a long saw. I think it's about a maybe 8 to 10 foot saw, back and forth, back a long one. Oh, that's an antique, that we had forever. Strong steel. You didn't have to ever sharpen it because it was strong steel. Then we had some bow saws. I still have bow saws. Bow saws to uh, cut the smaller limbs. And I carry bow saws all the time. Now I carry the ones you could fold up. They're about this long. You buy them at Cabela's. You fold it up. You can unfold it. Has a really strong teeth to cut limbs and for fire campsite fires. And so, and they're strong steel. You don't have to sharpen them. They're good forever. I think I have maybe three of them. I have a longer one, a black handle one that opens like a pocket knife. It's a big one, but opens up like a pocket knife, long, and then you could close it back up, and you could carry it in your backpack. I have a backpack full of uh, wire, duct tape, saws. Those are supplies for the camp. And so I always have trade items, things that I could make with we home pasta, the tent stakes. Sometimes I make a whole bunch of them with little hooks that made out of wood. There'll be a stake like wood, and then a limb leave there, so that that's where the tent or the teepee could hook, and then you knock it into the ground, and so it'll hold tight, on the edges. We humpaspe is the word for the tent stake. So all of those are necessary for trade items, even the we humpaspe. Now we pasise. I have some here that I made, and I have some probably right behind me here, right here. I make things like this to have for we pasise, or for the tent stakes, or these could be drumsticks too. I want to make a drumstick out of this. Make a drumstick. You put a little uh, head and a handle, a leather handle. And so I make drumsticks When I sit here, I try to not waste time. I always find something to do while I'm watching TV or if I'm listening to NPR, the radio. But I'm always trying to fill in the time to make something. If I'm not, I'm feeding my birds, watering my plants, constantly moving because if I don't, it's going to pass me up. You know, a lot of things they pile up your work, so you don't want them to get away with you. I have to clean the kitty litters, clean the bird cages. These little birds, I have to give them water. I fill their little feeders, and I fill the treats. They have a little there's some uh, little clear boxes in there uh, that they could eat there. It's just like plastic sides that hold the treats so that they could eat. Maybe I have one. So here you go. Yeah, the treats. They look like this. The treats. They look like that. Yeah, that's all seeds. Probably with holding it with molasses. They have a little it looks like a basket, long basket, but it's uh, plastic, so that they can't they can't. If it's wood, they'll chew it up. They like to chew up wood. And so next we'll get to the one beaver skin, chapa wangila, 6 large knives, and 8 jackknives. That's what I show you. And this is a jackknife. 8 of them and 6 large knives. I had a large knife here, I think. It's in the other room now. Uh, but I have a smaller large knife right here. Smaller large knife. But I have longer ones too. Old hickory. The wooden handle old hickory knives. Those are really good steel. They're gonna last me forever. Forever. I'll have those old hickory. So I don't know. I had them ever since I could remember. Because my grandpa and grandma had those. So I made sure that I follow their ways, have good equipment, good tools, uh, the things I use, the tools I use. And I try to save a lot of them and have a lot of it. 1/2 pound of beets. Pshitho uh, ke okise. One beaver too. One beaver hide. Would be Shapaha Mozilla. I'll be right back. You hold on. I'll be right back here. I gotta check on something out in the other room. One of my little dogs, I think, wants to go out. Okay. Had to send them all out. Had to close the gate, otherwise they're going to be all over town. Okay, we were at the beads, pshitcho. Yeah, it's a small granulated uh, blue granulated stones that you make into the beads. It says pshitcho, and tcho means possibly turquoise. Pshitcho. So all the rest of the beads became pshitcho. That's the narrowed word for beads is pshitcho. But there's not only blue beads. There's many other colors: red and yellow and green, white, different color beads. But they call them all pshitcho. They broadened in meaning, but the narrow meaning is blue for the blue beads. Okay. 6 beaver skins. They shakpe, shapaha shakpe. One laced coat. One laced coat. What are those? Probably a fancy evening coat. Laced. I can't picture a Lakota lady wearing a laced coat. What is probably for dressing up. Uh, 5 beaver hides. That would be zapped, huh? One plain coat. Probably a Hudson Bay coat, right? The wool ones. Yeah. Make sure you shrink them, because if they get wet and they're drying, sometimes they shrink. You don't want them to be in the sun when they're drying, or they'll shrink. So if you have a wet uh, wool blanket or a coat, make sure you dry them in a constant room where there's no sunlight. They'll stay the same size. Don't put them in a dryer; they'll shrink. If you get a big uh, wool coat, it's really big for you. You can wash it and then put it in a dryer, but you have to check on it all the time to see how far it shrunk. If it shrunk just right for your size, then you pull it out and hang it up and dry it. So that's how you could shrink your wool coat to fit you. If you got one that's too big, you could shrink it in the dryer, and then so it gets to your size. Make sure you keep checking on and dry it up. If it's still too big, you put it back in the dryer again. Hot dryer. And just keep shrinking until it gets to your size. So that's old Indian trick. How to You don't have to be sewing, cut it and then sew it and make it little for yourself. But you could you could shrink it after you wash it in a dryer. Old Indian trick. Okay. You're going to learn some things that happen to test it and try, and it works. Hayapikin Nachikalawaya. I made them become small by using a tool, the dryer. That's a good tool. Sometimes when I get Levi's that are too big, I wash them, put them in the dryer. They get to a little bit smaller to my size, but some of the denim Levi's, so some of them are pre-shrunk. That means that's the right size. It won't get any smaller. It won't shrink any smaller. That's good, right size. Okay. One beaver skin chapaha wajila. 1 pound of tobacco. Tkeyut chapi wanji. Chanli ikipi. You know, 1 beaver skin, 1 pound of tobacco. 1 pound of tobacco is quite a bit, right? Yeah, that's quite a bit of tobacco. I think all of my I had big bags of tobacco, but I think I put them in a car, because I take them with me to different places where sometimes say, Grandpa, you got some tobacco. They want to make offerings, to Hawa, to pray with tobacco, and they come ask, Grandpa, you got some tobacco? Always have some ready. Here, I can have some. So always have your tobacco ready in case you're going down a road and you see an eagle or something. You put out and offer tobacco, a good sign. You say, you say that for yourself. So it makes you feel worthwhile that you did a ritual. It makes you feel more wholesome spiritually. You know, uh, just as long as you know you're doing a thing that you think is right, because the elders did that. I'm an elder now, so I guess I have to continue those ways of praying and having sign, a ritual that makes it a way of life. It becomes tradition, customs, and those things are important, to keep a culture going. That's part of the culture, we say. No matter if somebody says, you don't have to do that. Those Indians do that. They don't have to do that. But to us, we say that the things that lasted a long time are the ones that are worthwhile, brought us into the 21st century. Prayer, love, patience, all the values that we hold so dear, and there's ceremonies attached to them, like making of relatives, unka, offer tobacco. Sometimes we tie little tobacco ties. I got right here, tobacco ties is 42, 42 of them for healing. I could request, could you pray for us for healing? And then I would make 42 tobacco ties. I sit there and pray, and I still have a whole bunch. I got more over there that I'm going to take to the next sweat lodge ceremony. I'll pray with them, then I'm going to burn them at the outside the fireplace right there, so that I did my part. Might not mean anything to anybody else, but to me, I follow the ways of the elders, what they said, for healing, what they said, do this so we could remember ourselves. We could remember ourselves as a nation, as a people. Do this for us. Do this for ourselves. So it's a collective. That's the way we say tribal. A collective way of life. The collective way is what bonds us together as nations. The village, the things we do together, the eating together, especially. I always like to eat. That's a cool. Prayer attached to that too. You offer stuff to the spirits, put it outside the teepee. Say, Grandpa, the spirits are not going to get it. Those dogs are going to eat it up. I said, well, they're spirits too. They can eat with us. They're spirits too. She said, we got spirit in us, and the little dogs have spirit in them too. It makes them want to move forward. The spirit is what makes us go every day. The spirit is what makes us smile. The happiness of showing the good feelings. That's the spirit of life. Our electric way. We're alive because we're our electric way. Wakangli ugorjulapi. We have electrolytes inside of us that make our heart beat, that make us strong. Chante, chante like wood, strong and pumping. Yes, that's what is good for the heart. Is happiness, making people happy, making one another feel good about ourselves. It helps the heart. It makes us be in a good way, a rewarding way, and I can't say it enough time. I love my little birds because they always sing. Seems they have a never-ending same songs over and over. And now they're looking at me. They can sing or what? Ezekiel's eating. Cedar, he's eating too. Yeah, they're all eating. Socrates and Arcadia, they all have good names. Ezekiel is right there, yellow-headed parakeet. His name's Ezekiel. God within him. That's what Ezekiel means. He's got a little God inside of him. And Cedar, that's my baby. It's a parakeet. His name's Cedar because he's green and looks good. His name's Cedar. Yeah. Okay. Now we go to one beaver skin. It's a Chapahawangila, a powder horn. One large and two small ones. Powder horns. And that's the cow horns. They cut it so far and then they put the gunpowder in it. You probably see them in movies, kind of hanging on the side right here. I used to have one. I don't know what happened to it again. Probably one of my grandsons says, Grandpa, could we have this? I might have to make myself another one. I got extra buffalo horns. I might make myself another little. Uh, well, I won't use it for a powder horn though. I probably put my change in there or something. I carry a lot of change. I save change for my granddaughter. I get these, and every time I go to the store and have change, I put it in one of these little medicine bottles, and I save them for my granddaughter because she's beginning to be a teenager. She has her own phone now, so this is a full one. Quarters, dimes, and nickels. I started another one. Last time I gave her 3 of these, and she made $44.17. She said, so I'm gonna fill up maybe 3 or 4 of them and take it to her. That's all the change that I get when I buy something. They give me change. I put it in my pocket, bring it home, and I save it for my granddaughter. Yes, she's always really happy because she has her own phone now, and she tries to pay for her phone card and things. I think about them. I think about my grandchildren. Yeah, I love them very, very much. 1 pound kettle. Wonder what size kettle that is. Probably about a small one, about like this. So, I don't know if it's what's inside or the kettle itself that weighs 1 pound. So not a too big of one, right? Enough for a saucepan, to make some tea, boil some mint or something. Enough for about maybe 5 cups or so. I have big cups, like this big cup. Has a buffalo on it. Buffalo, buff, buff. There's buffaloes on it. And mirror, 2 beaver skins. Oh, for a mirror? For one of these? A mirror? Maybe they had different kind of mirrors. I have this mirror here, in here in my room. We have some mirrors in the other room too. But mirrors, it's a bargain. Mirrors. Maybe 2 beaver skins for maybe 10 mirrors. then pass them around to the relatives. Maybe they're squirrels. My cockatiels and parakeets, they got big mirrors alongside their little homes, their cages. They really like to look at themselves. So they have a swing. Each of them have swing in there. I put swings in there for them, and they got toys in there that they could play, and they could hang and swing back and forth. They're happy. I gave them happy homes, and take care of them. And just cockatiel live for 30 years. So they're going to be with me for a long time yet. Yeah, those I had to go all the way to Arcadia, Nebraska to pick them up. $200, $100 each. I know they're worth more than that, but that woman was trying to rehome them, so I went over there and got them. About a 4-hour drive from here. So now we're gonna go to by the 1800s. Horses had become the main medium of exchange among the Plains tribes in the 1800s. The average buffalo robe was valued at $3. A buffalo robe was $3. How much are they worth now? Try a cheap one, $800 to $1,200. Try the good buffalo winter buffalo. Oh, maybe $1,200 to $1,800. They're not cheap. Not $3. Oh, no way. Times have changed, which means a horse priced at 10 robes costs about $30. Yeah, 10 robes is $30. Nowadays, 10 robes is uh, over $10,000 nowadays. Now here's a good one for you. In 2015, price of a bull buffalo robe is valued at $800 to $1,200. Now that's in 2015. This is 2021. I think it's more like $1,200 to $1,800 now. Prices start to climb as time goes by. Not $3 for one robe, not no more. That's back in 1800s. And it's a lot of work. Grandma and grandpa and the kids have to sit there scraping and scraping and scraping. And then they have to, you come on, you have to soften it down, pulling it back and forth, maybe around a rope or around a rough tree, or if we're lucky enough, we have a long blade, you could sit and pull back and forth to break down the hide and make it soft. I used to do that. I used to make deer skin, the doe skin for the traditional women's dresses, the traditional woman's uh, like a dress with doe skin. They're light like fabric. I used to make those for grandma. I used to sit in front of a big scythe, just a blade. It was on a post, and then the other one was in the ground. And I sit in front of it on a pillow. Yeah, I pull back and forth, pulling the hide off. Of course, we soaked the hide, deer hide first in a big, huge, tall uh, tub, but a tall one, like a trash can. We soak it in there with ash to break down the hides clinging to the actual hide. The hair comes off easier. It breaks down the hide because the pores open with the chemical that's in the ash. It's easier to put. You could just after you soak it just enough not to when it's falling apart. So you have to know exactly how it feels when it's going to be a good tanned rawhide. When you start pulling the hair and it comes off quite easily, then it's ready. So you have to be careful because if you soak it too long, then it starts to make holes in it and gets rotten. So you got to be careful. You have to, timing is everything with that uh, making a tanned hide. I'm going to stop right here. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you again next Monday, the 12th. And I would then go on with what we're studying about the horse.